show on Lead Pedal Radio with DJ Bruce.
It's time for the Lead Pedal Radio Show. With your host, Bruce Eldridge. He's coming at you with 5K high definition, wall-to-wall internet streaming sound. Keep you on the white line, keep you rolling down the blacktop, flying down that big old road. He's got the hits, don't quit, the platters that matter, and the spins that win. So join us. We'll help you circumnavigate the concrete sea and actuate the asphalt alleyway. Now, here is your host, Bruce Eldridge.
How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to another edition of Chords Chrome. That's right, we got lots of stuff going on tonight. We are going to be talking CVs, ice road truckers. We got a cool truck to show you tonight for sure. We're going to catch you up on what's going up on Woodstock. Paige Rutledge is our Artist of the Week. Bill Weaver is our Artist of the Month. And we got some cool music to play in between that, so you don't want to miss it. We're going to get right on to it right after this, so let's get started. You want to click the link below because we are not going to be on for the full show. So if you want to hear it all, you got to stay with us. Here we go. Let's get into Chords and Chrome. Here we go.
You're listening to the Chords and Chrome show on Lead Pedal Radio.
Are coming up with new stuff, new twists.
The craziest stuff happens on that show.
It keeps me laughing.
You're listening to Lead Pedal Radio, music for people behind the wheel.
Oh, so it's a busy week. We got lots of stuff going on. A big shout out to French Bread who's with us, and happy birthday because it's her birthday coming up. Anyway, we got some great stuff coming. We did an interview a while ago with John DeGroot. Now, John used to be an owner operator. He had 4 trucks. Ran for Kim Tam, Samuel Steele. He's been up on the ice roads. He's now in charge of a fleet out west. He's moved out to Vancouver, but he's also very big on the whole Red Seal movement. I had the pleasure of talking with John, and I was really interested to talk to him about the whole ice road thing. You know, is it really like the show? You guys have seen the show, Ice Road Truckers, and then there's Highway to Hell, which is not about ice roads, but they all seem to have ice accidents on them. You've probably seen the movie with Liam Neeson. I think that's a really cool one on the movies where he can roll his truck on the ice roads, not have it sink, and then get it back up with a winch. I think that's very interesting. It makes for entertaining television, but is it really the way that things are? Well, we're going to find out. We've got our first segment comes to you from Bison Transport. You know, they are our they handle all of our interviews. Bison Backstage, they're our sponsor. So if they're looking for owner operators right now. So if that is you, check out bisondriving.com. All right, so let's get into our interview. This is our first segment of the night. Like I said, we got lots of stuff to share with you tonight. We got this interview with John. Paige Rutledge is our preferred artist of the week. Bill Weaver is our preferred artist of the month. And we got some great CB trivia. We'll see if you remember the days of CB. That's what we're going to talk about it. I got a great Peterbilt to show you as well as for our Chrome segment. And I'll bring you some updates on what's happening on Woodstock this week. We've got the Woodstock Truck Show coming up. So lots to get in. Let's dive into it. Let's get going with our first episode segment tonight. This is John DeGroot from Ice Road Truckers. And also now he is the, the manager for a fleet out west. Let's find out all about it. Here we go. From I'm a safety manager at Aerostream, Red Seal certificate. I don't even know what your title is anymore, John. How you doing?
I've lost track myself, Bruce.
I know. I bet you have. You should stop doing things. How are you? Tell us what your actual title is, because I'm sure I got it wrong.
So I'm the senior safety and compliance manager at Aerostream Logistics in Richmond, BC.
Okay. But that's not all you do. You used to be a trainer, and you were a driver at one time, and now you're doing a lot of work with Red Seal and all that, and we're going to get into all of that. But tell us kind of how you got into the industry. When did you start driving, and then how did you kind of get into safety management?
Well, how I got into driving, I think I was born into it, like many of us old timers. My dad drove, all my uncles drove, and it just was a natural path for me. I knew what I was going to do from the day I walked out of kindergarten till the time I was able to get a commercial driver's license. My dad started teaching me preteen, and I was probably successfully bobtailing a tractor around when I was 12 years old. And by the time I was 15, I could manipulate one in a yard with very little assistance. So at 18, natural path. I got my license and off I went.
We started driving at the same age. I started at 18 too. I didn't have all that extra training ahead of time though. My parent was an accountant, so we didn't know we fell into that. But that's okay. We came in at the same time. So that's so now you are so you drove for you've done a lot of stuff. What was the primary stuff that you hauled back in the day? Were you I'm hazmat. Most of my work was hazmat at the end of the day, but
I'm probably one of the most versatile guys in the industry. I started out hauling general freight. I was running food service for a little outfit in Brampton, Rock City, for many people that remember that name. Midland Transport, dry goods. I got into steel early 2000s, kind of dibble-dabbled. I bought my first truck when I was 25, 24. That's going back in the day. Stuck with general freight, and I eventually got into steel, and flatbed work just seemed to keep me going and was one of the better paying ventures out there. So I stuck with steel and ended up at Samuel in Burlington and had like 4 trucks on with them over the years. And
okay.
Yeah, it kept me busy. I started, I dabbled in fuel. I did some work for RST. I dabbled in oversized. I did a season up on the ice roads. I've kept myself busy.
Wow. What was tell us a little bit about the ice roads, because a lot of people are intrigued by that, myself included. I've never gotten into all that stuff. I know I met a guy who's on with Jade. I think his name was Andrew, and he's from Australia, and that's his goal, to do all of that specialty stuff. So he did the Australian trains, and he went to the ice roads, and he's doing he's with Jade now, I think, but he was doing all this fancy stuff, and this was his goal, to kind of go around the world and attack all of those big specialty items. What was it for you? Was that you just got a job up there, or was your kind of the same thing? You wanted to just say I did it?
Just a restless soul, as my wife likes to say. It can't sit still for 5 minutes. No, I actually saw an ad. I think it was online, if I remember correctly, from a little broker in Edmonton for Continental Cartage, asked looking for ice road drivers. I threw my resume in. Next thing I know, I was on a plane out of Hamilton and flew into Edmonton, picked up a truck with some little training, and off the Yellowknife I went and spent 3 months up there running flatbed. And I think I did 1 or 2 dry van loads up way up north to the Arctic Circle.
Yeah. So all that stuff they show on the ice roads, ice road truckers or whatever it's called, is it how much of that is? I know that's not all true because I know people that have worked up in the ice roads and they say it's very strict and very regimented and all that kind of stuff. So how much of that is kind of because that's what the public sees? How much of that is true based on your experience?
Zero.
Zero.
Probably one of the safest entities I've ever been a part of. They treat the driver like a driver should be treated and should be treated today, quite frankly. They knew that we were the life source for getting all the supplies up to those mines. And of course, those roads need to stay open and they need to get every cent out of them that they put into it. So they treat you well. I enjoyed it. It was like driving 30 years ago. Everybody out to help one another out. It was I didn't want to come home just for the simple fact of the colleagues and the professionalism up there was just surpassed. And I was up there the year they filmed the first season of
Okay.
Ice Road Truckers, the same year that they were kicked off of that part of the ice.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, I've seen that series and I'm going, they got guys driving with no heat. Who goes to a place where it's minus 40 and drives without checking your heater and that kind of stuff, right? I couldn't understand that.
Yeah.
Thing. It makes for fun TV, I guess. Did you ever see anybody, the actual ice though? Is that whole wave they talk about? Is that something you concerned of when you're driving up there or?
You're still concerned with the weight displacement when you're coming off of portages onto a smaller lake, especially if you're loaded heavy. There's precautions. You have to slow rate down. Radio communication is key. But they take safety very, very seriously. They're constantly up there with radar guns. Towards the end of the year when it got milder, it got a little rougher and kind of shook your fillings loose a little bit on some of the pathways. But, I had a great time. I'd go back other than the fact that when I went up, my wife says, "Well, you can't swim." She says, "Honey, it ain't gonna matter. It's so cold, I'll be frozen before I even get a stroke in."
Yeah. I think, I don't think swimming is. Where are you going to swim to in the middle of wherever you are, right? Yeah. So so I understand that, and I found the same thing from the hazmat part. That's why I mean I'm sure you do too. I'm often telling young people, specialize. That's how you make it in this industry. To specialize.
Mhm.
And get some. For me, it was hazmat. I don't know why. I just see, and because I'm probably the most. I hate rules, but I follow them all. So I'm one of those guys who was willing to check and do those things. And I found you had a little more respect, and with the company
Yes.
I was working for anyway. And flatbed guys, everybody has it, and I think that's why some people get into those different markets. So now you're safety training. Tell us what that job's like. That's got to be hell in today's world.
It's busy. We run a fleet. We have a small terminal in Richmond. We have another small one in Victoria and another one in Seattle. So we're running about 50 units, right up from 1 ton, right up to tractor trailers. We do a lot of work for the cruise industry out in Vancouver and the Port of Seattle, and a lot of trade shows and exhibitions, and really good group of people. And we've been very busy. We've been concentrating on rebranding the fleet this week, and I'll share that with you at some point. We just got some new decals made up, so we're cleaning up all the trucks, rebranding them, making them look more modern. Just spent a whack of money on cleaning up the entire fleet, and they're really important about image, and that means a lot to me.
I was going to say, we're not talking about one of those chameleon carriers, are we, John? Where hey, we got new decals this week. Guess what's going on? I know it. I was just joking. I know you're.
No, about 26 years in business with these guys.
Good. So now I'm in Ontario. You're in BC. We're seeing a lot of the same issues. I know we're talking about the same issues when it comes to safety and drivers and. I mean, what's your fleet? Is it a makeup of different people out there? Like, what are you seeing from your end? Because you're probably hearing more about these issues in the mountains in BC than I am because we're in Ontario. What's your
Training is still very similar issues. As you know, I spent over 50 years in Ontario. I just moved out here this April and last April. And it's funny, you can go from one side of the coast of this country, and even though the problems might be differentiate a little bit in logistics, but the problems still remain the same. We're still seeing drivers out here that, quite frankly, should have never ever seen a driver's licensing office. We've got corruption in the licensing offices. We have driving schools that, quite frankly, the equipment shouldn't even be on the road. And we have chameleon carriers out here. We have Drivers Inc. out here. And I'm seeing the same things as I've seen at driving schools in Ontario. You have a guy that comes in, he does a road test for a position, he has a commercial license. And with Aerostream, unfortunately, their first impressions of a commercial driver was, well, if he has a license, he's qualified. Well, it's not what the license holds, it's what your experience holds. You know that as well as I do. And I get drivers out here that can't complete a complete pre-trip without looking at a book or looking at me for references. Same problems I had in Ontario. So education is key. We need to get our new drivers better prepared for this industry, or we're just going to keep seeing the carnage on the highways.
Does your company have, or the companies in your area, do they have things like the finishing programs and stuff that I don't hear from them anymore? We used to see quite a few of them. I've got some sponsors on our podcast that used to be leaders in that area. What's happening with the training? So you hire someone on. Do you guys have a training program? How long does that go for? Or do we not have them at all? I know. I haven't really.
We do have some companies in BC that do have some type of finishing programs. I have dealt with a few of the driving schools out here in BC, and quite fast, they're far beyond melt requirements. So they don't look at melt as a complete finishing program when the driver's ready to go. There's gentlemen out there like Ron Bassey and some places in Kelowna and even Valley here in Langley. They take their guys out and they're assured that they're getting the proper training before they even go and seek a job at a regular carrier. And the bigger carriers, Bison, XTL, they have a finishing program in place. We don't per se at Aerostream. Most of our guys were a 5-year minimum before we onboard anybody.
Yeah, that's where I was when I was at the chemical company. We didn't even look at your resume if you didn't have at least 5 years, and all the guys on our team were veteran drivers of at least 20 or more. So we never. But now I hear it's like 2 years because you're having, and they're a private fleet, right? They're having trouble just like everybody else getting drivers to come in. So what we just had an incident. I'm not sure. Was it BC? There's another hockey team. You and I were both in Calgary talking with Scott Thomas, at the end of last year. And now I hear there's been another incident. What are you hearing? Do you think this one's going to make a difference? I thought the last one should have made a difference and it didn't.
I think they make small differences. Unfortunately, it's never a loud enough cry and it seems to die out. They brought certain training requirements in after Humboldt. Was it enough? Absolutely not. The problem we keep struggling is, you go from one standard in BC to another standard in Nova Scotia, and depending on what part of the continent you got your license on, sometimes dictates on what kind of a driver you're going to be. And that's not acceptable. It needs to be a national standard. These tragedies with the buses, there was so many in the States that I'm seeing with drivers that are working with chameleon carriers, not proper training, not experienced. And the irresponsibility isn't going to change unless we make that a national standard, and that's what we're trying to do at Red Seal and PTAC.
Yeah, well, let's talk Red Seal. You're a leader. How did you get involved with that? I know we've been talking about it in the industry in general. You and I both were at the PTAC conference at the end of October. But you have taken it on. Tell us what you're doing now, because I think you're kind of the leader. Or did you start an organization? Or, like I say, I'm behind on your articles on LinkedIn, so I apologize if I'm not totally up to date. I try to keep up with you, but you're just like going out there. So tell us exactly kind of what you started, because I think you kind of started your own organization, or if I got that wrong.
What I essentially did was I had spoken with Kim prior to the Calgary conference for PTAC. This all started years and years ago. I started noticing a massive difference in the trucking industry, early 2000s. I started up a little association there, and the Ontario Professional Drivers Safety Association. I went out as much as registering it as a nonprofit because there was a lot of owner-operators like myself, business owners, truck drivers, that were just tired of status quo in the industry. We weren't being treated as a skilled trade. We weren't being paid as a skilled trade. when it's most people that are in an industry for over 30 years, you're usually at a pretty good standpoint in a salary basis. We just don't see that in trucking. We're actually going in the wrong direction. So I started that, and I was actually approached from Glenn Caldwell at Now Insurance, who I had spoken with before when they had awarded me a Driver of the Year for Now. And he told me about this conference, and I thought, well, it's an 8-hour drive. My son's in Calgary. My wife and I decided to take a drive out and got to see some beautiful country along the way. And I sat and I listened to that conference, and it was the last thing I expected, Bruce. I sat and I listened to Scott Thomas and how he had forgiven that driver at Humboldt, and it sparked something inside of me. I can't quite explain it. A man that can actually stand up, wrap his arms around the man that was partially responsible for killing his own son and forgiving him touched something in me that just lighted a fire that I realized, I just can't stop. I have to fight for something in Red Seal.
All right, there you go. That's our conversation with John DeGroot. Thank you, John, for being on the show. If you want to hear more of that, head over to Lead Pedal Podcast for the full interview for sure. Great conversation, great him. So we are going to get into CB radios, and then we've got some updates from Woodstock. If you want to listen to the whole show, I suggest you click the link in the show notes now to go on to our Lead Pedal Radio, because we are doing the rest with music, and we are starting off with one flatbed, and this is from our preferred artist of the month, Mr. Bill Weaver. Stay with us for the show. Here we go.